All right, so I want to say welcome to everyone. My name is Tiffany Turner Allen. I'm the Executive Director of Nonprofit Prince George's County, and I want to welcome you to another edition of our Courageous Conversations series. It's a race equity series that is ongoing, so we don't plan on ending this until systemic racism ends. And so that means this is going to be going on for quite
You're
some
never
time.
going to end this program.
Exactly, right? So today's conversation, we are joined by two amazingly beautiful, talented women, and they're going to be focusing on the fashion industry. And so we have with us Korto Momolu. Did I say that part correct? She is a fashion designer, and I'm actually not going to be able to speak to the breadth and depth of your work. So we know that you are an amazing fashion designer, Liberian born, and you were on Project Runway, but you are so much more than that. So I want to give you an opportunity to share share a little bit more about yourself, Koto. And then we also have Joy Kingsley eBay with us today. And so Joy is a fashion model, stylist, talent agent, manager. So we have a lot of talent in the room. So I'm really excited to welcome you all to this conversation today.
Thank you for having us. Looking forward to this.
So Koto, can you kind of just share a little bit? Can you start with, we're saying fashion designer and we say Project Runway and those type of things, but exactly how do you define yourself in terms of what you do and who you are?
I'm definitely a creative. You know, fashion is something that in high school I decided to use my artistic talents to check the box and say, okay, I'm going to use that and be this, you know, instead of interior design or whatever else that I could have been. I'm a creative because I only just don't make clothing. I make jewelry, I make handbags. I also style when I need to. I do visual art. I teach, I do so many things. There's so many things under this hat, but I think everything I do, the very foundation of it is creativity. And I think when you're creative, it opens up the world for you because you can do everything. Once it's creative, I've done so many different jobs that have nothing to do with fashion, but they've incorporated an element of fashion in there where I've been able to come in and just share my voice and have a voice. So I'm also a mom of two youngins who are homeschooling right now, probably looking for me. And I'm just all around just your average girl, just trying to make it in this world and go after her dream every day and killing it at it, you know. Had to take a long time to get there, and it's like, you know what, you're killing it. I don't care what level you are, you just have to look in the mirror sometimes and be like, girl, you're doing it. And go right back to sleep.
Exactly.
Thank you, Koto. Joy. So I want to be, you know, again, I like to be my authentic self. Like I don't have any choice but to be that. So when we were planning this conversation, Koto and I had the pleasure to have a conversation about who else to bring into this conversation. And so because this isn't my industry, I wasn't familiar with people, she decided that, you know, she was able to identify somebody to join the conversation. And so when I got the information, when the email came through, I was like, Joy, no, this is not the Joy that I know. And so I'm going to show you just how far Joy and I go back. So Takesha, can you show us how far Joy and I go back, please?
Oh gosh.
What?
The blackmail photo.
This is how far Joy and I go back.
I'm holding my breath.
Yeah, I'm holding it too. I know Takesha was ready to roll.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. This is Joy and I in college.
I was on the kick it that night.
This is how far we go back.
Oh my God. I remember that picture. Oh my God. I remember that picture.
This is Joy. Yes. I dug through photos. I think there are 2 more photos that Takesha. This was us today. Yes. This is really back in the day, right?
Yes, it was. Tiffany, you go, oh my God, my first freshman roommate. Holy crap, that's Val.
That is awesome.
Thank you, Takesha, for sharing that. So I wanted people to know that when I say that I was moved to tears
Yeah.
when I got the email, and I didn't get a chance to really connect with you, Joy, because we have just been, really, really busy trying to serve the community. But I was so excited because we lost connection after college.
Yeah.
But the
Wow.
relationship that we had in college was amazing. You always had that same beautiful smile, that same warm spirit. And so I'm really excited that you are able to join us. So that's been my personal experience. But I would like for you to share who you are and what you do other than being this beautiful soul that I knew many moons ago, and I'm so happy to reconnect with you.
Wow, Tiffany, I'm almost moved to tears. So let me just get it together.
That was great.
That was really great. Thank you. So yes, as you mentioned, I am a former model. I'm a celebrity wardrobe stylist and also own a modeling agency here in DC. And, my journey started from the runway, and that's actually how Korto and I met. I modeled for over 20 years. And in that time frame, I was always missing a connection with the agencies that I was signed with. There was always that barrier of being a Black woman. And when I started out, this was pre-Instagram. It was pre everything that we have at our fingertips right now. And believe it or not, I mean, still the same thing, but Black women, Black models weren't celebrated, we weren't promoted, we weren't pushed. And so I saw that lacking, in every aspect of that industry. So when I started the agency, I wanted to give to my talent the things that I didn't get as a model, that support, also creating an agency that celebrated diversity, understanding that is actually the glue that holds us together, our differences. And so I started that journey, and along the way, I mean, fashion was always a passion of mine, as you can see from those old college pictures, because I thought I was doing it. And so, but, so I started styling people, and my styling just came really from styling my sister, styling my friends who really wanted to find themselves as women who were now married and with kids. And I'm sure you both can attest to that. Women tend to put themselves on the back burner, and you forget about yourselves when you get into that family and motherhood stage. And I would take these women shopping, and they would look at themselves in the mirror once I put them together and start crying. And that's when it hit me that fashion isn't just about vanity. It's not just about looking good. Fashion actually does something to you at the core, and it makes you feel good about yourself. So that's how the wardrobe styling business started. And it's just morphed into something that I couldn't even imagine. I have a lot of celebrity clients. I've styled NBA players, NFL players, Soledad O'Brien, like political journalists and things like that. So it's really morphed into an amazing thing. And now I've been able to merge the two together, my modeling agency and the styling. So clients hire me on set to style my models, and then clients who I've styled who see that I now have an agency then may hire my models for jobs. So it's really gone hand in hand, and I'm very fortunate for that.
That is wonderful. Congratulations to both of you all doing amazing, amazing things. And I guess that kind of starts the conversation. So the Courageous Conversation is meant to talk about systemic racism, right? So when we talk about fashion and we're having this conversation, I know that for years, this is, who I'm seeing before me, a reflection of myself. That's not what I saw on the runways. That's not what I saw in terms of or heard of the names in terms of designers. So I'm curious to know from both of you how professionally you saw, I know you've talked about like limited representation, but how has systemic racism shown up in both of these spaces and all of the spaces that you all kind of interact from a fashion perspective?
I think like daily life, it just shows up and you're like, whoa, did that really happen? Growing up, I had to seek designers that looked like me. And luckily for me, I had like Byron Lars and Tracy Reese who were in like pattern books. And this is in Canada. So there was like no representation up there of designers that were doing what I was doing, who went to schools that I actually would want to go to at Parsons, et cetera, and FIT, and following their careers, but they weren't on the mainstream level. They were just designers who happened to make it through and open doors, and they've been opening doors for years. So it probably wasn't until I went on Project Runway where it started to be more in your face. You know, up until like a few years ago, they never even had an African-American designer win the show. And there's been a lot of talent on there. We've always come close, second or third, but never first. But yet the styles that we would do on the show were always duplicated or replicated by the major designers that would come on. You know, I saw a lot of my work duplicated by designers that were co-hosts when I was on there, but no one would ever say, hey, why don't you come and let's do this together? Let me help you come up. Whereas my white counterparts were invited in to have intensive work internships to build their businesses. And, you know, it's in your face. You know, people don't have to say those things, but you see like, wow, well, how come, you know, you're the same person that did this, but you invited her to come and do it, but yet you just stole my work and just changed the color palette a little bit, and you made money off me. So there's that, there's all of that. There's all of that when you're trying to show, like for me, it was always about my heritage and being who I am, 100% African, and just not being apologetic about it, you know, and putting that into my work and my creatives. And there was always this thing. I remember the very first challenge, I wanted to put a tribal mark on my model's lips. And the makeup artist, who was Black like me, said, you might not want to do that. They don't like when you do stuff like that. You might want to keep it. I was like, do stuff like what? Be me? Be Black? I can't be Black. I was Black when they said I could come on here. So why can't I be Black with this lip?
Right.
I'm a Puerto Rican model. So honestly, I was like, at that moment, I was like, okay, where am I? Like, what did I just sign up for? Because I put it on her lip anyways. And I came in the top 3. And I was like, you know what? If I let this man stop me from being me, this is going to be a trend throughout this competition. If being me is a problem, then they shouldn't have let me on here. But thanks for letting me know that they have a problem with it, because they don't see this problem until they kick me off. So I just stopped there because I go on for days.
Right.
That's where it showed up. But it hasn't stopped, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joy, what about for you?
And for me, and sadly enough, models are still going through that same thing today. For me, it was showing up on set, and I was the only Black model in the group. So you automatically understand that you were the token model, or you were the model with the brown skin that they were looking for. Because as a model, you're dealing with not only tokenism, but you're dealing with colorism, you know? And so like, am I light enough? Is my hair curly enough? Is my hair afro enough, you know? And I could always tell what the casting call was for when I would show up, especially with my New York agency. And I would just see a whole bunch of Black girls like me, and we're all vying for that one spot because we know only one of us is gonna get that spot. And then it's also in the language that your agencies use. They're not inclusive, you know, and that's something that I've tried my best to do with my agency. For example, I remember one of my agents, they would send out an email about a casting call, and they would say, okay, models, female models, you know, wear your little Black dress, which is what we would wear for runway auditions. And, you know, and make sure you come with your hair pulled back in a ponytail. And that's my hair. So are you talking to me in that email, or are you just talking to the white models in that email? And so they also don't understand that language matters too, and inclusivity matters in that messaging. You know, the other thing that was always a challenge, and again, still a challenge today, is when you show up for a photo shoot, a fashion show, a commercial shoot, whatever, you have hair and makeup artists that don't know how to deal with different hair textures or different complexions. I had to always pack my makeup bag with me and bring my hair tools. If I knew it was going to be for a runway show, I would already come with my hair done, blown out in all its glory in an afro, because I knew, and I've had this done to me when I've sat down in a chair and the white hairstylist has been like, oh, okay, you're fine, because she had no idea what to do with my hair. And when you're in an industry that is about beauty and that your looks matter, it's really why they hired you. When you show up and you automatically know you're not going to look as good as your white counterparts because the glam squad did not know how to handle your hair and your face, it can be a very hard thing to swallow, and it makes you feel insecure when you're going out there. But you know, you always are constantly talking to yourself and saying, hold your head up high no matter what, So like I said, even with the makeup bag, I would find a time and sneak into the bathroom and get my color right with my own foundation. So the fact that all models, and it happens today. So even when I book models now, if I'm able to know who the glam squad is, I make sure if I have an opportunity to book my glam squad, I make sure that the makeup and hairstylists know how to handle every single model that's going to show up. And so that goes into training. If you're going to be in an industry that you're serving in this fashion industry, then you need to study your craft, and you just shouldn't know how to do one hairstyle or one complexion. But that's been a lot of the challenges that I went through then, and that I see my models still go through today.
Okay. I wanted to speak to something that Korto just mentioned a little while ago, but we have this ongoing conversation. Korto, you just mentioned how you are 100% African, right? And there's been this ongoing conversation about—
And me too.
Thank you, Joy, for sharing what Black is. And so I used to run a culturally specific resource center for the Black community for domestic and sexual violence. And for me, when how I define Black was African immigrant, Afro-Latina, Afro-Caribbean, and African-American, right? And so there has been this ongoing conversation where, in Prince George's County, we have a large population of Black people that are part of the immigrant community. My mother's family, they're immigrants from Guyana in South America. My father's family, they are descendants of formerly enslaved people in this country. And I identify as a Black woman. And so I feel like that terminology, Black, encompasses all of the melanated people from the diaspora that have similar experiences. But I wanted for you all to kind of speak a little bit to that, because there have been some conversations around whether people identify as Black or if there's similar experiences that we share based on what's happening in this country or abroad. Can you both speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, yes, we're all Black, but we still have different experiences. And me being African and always being an immigrant on this side of the world, there are experiences that I've experienced, the things I've gone through that maybe an African American may not understand. It's through the immigration process, it's through the comments I get from other Black people who, question, my Blackness and put me in a separate box because I'm African. Well, you're different, you're African. Or, but if we all got stopped, none of that would matter. We just all be Black, But so you're dealing it with both ways. You're dealing with it with people from the outside who don't look like you, and you're dealing with people from the inside who look like you. Like that brother on the show that instead of telling me, you got this, I'm about to hook this up and make sure that they get it, but he's telling me like that old slave mentality, you might not want to do that, just go according to the rules. I've been questioned, what boat did you come here on? Or, it goes for days. I did my ancestry just to show people, yeah, you can't be 100% Black, but I go through the same struggles. When I walk into the room, people just see me first as this. They don't get to see my character. They don't get to see what I've contributed to my society, what I give back, how many people I've helped come through the door. When I put that stop in there and just be like, okay, I might not be there, but just open it. I left the thing there so you can still get in. They don't see any of that. They don't see my struggles. They just decide to categorize you however they choose to. And I think we as people have to stop doing that within our community first, before we expect anybody else to stop. And I think that's what the problem is now. People are constantly saying, well, y'all do this and y'all do that. So that's always going to be the thing that they're going to throw at you. When you don't have your house clean, you can't go to nobody's house and be like, y'all need to dust. We gotta clean up. Seriously, before we start going out there. I felt pain and hurt from my own people. And that's where the problem is. We got to stop there. Before we can expect change outside, we got to fix this stuff inside.
100%.
With that for a minute? Can we sit with that for a minute?
I need to reach back here and tell people, y'all have your microphones on. Seriously, like it's hurtful. It's hurtful when your own people, just like when you come home and your mama's like, you ain't gonna be nothing. You know what I mean? Like people who go through that at home, their own parents are like, you're not gonna be anything. Then you go to school and your teacher's like, you're not gonna be nothing. It's everywhere. So if you don't have that love at home, it's like, where do you go? You don't feel welcome. You know, immigrants here don't feel like we're a part of it. You know, we don't feel like we're a part of society here in America all the time because we're not always included. And that's the one thing Canada has, that checkbox. You feel included. You're this inclusion. Your culture matters. They embrace it, and they want you to feel like this is your home now. So what is it that you do? What foods do you love? We're gonna have festivals to let people come in and see that and see you as people. You know, people who have master's degrees and doctorates and all kind of stuff who are just as great as anyone who's already here. Respectable people who are family people who work hard. And just because they're immigrant, that shouldn't devalue who they are right out the gate, you know? So that's it.
I don't think I've said it any better. You know, as a Nigerian woman, born there, 100% Nigerian, you know, my family went through the same plight. You know, we migrated to this country and we always had to prove ourselves and prove that we were worthy and prove that we were Black. And so I always remember fighting to fit into my own culture, you know, and then, you know, growing up with the Queens, like, you know, my family migrated from Nigeria to London and then came to the US. So, you know, growing up with the Queen's English and coming and speaking proper English, we were also looked down on, you know, and that was just always such a heartbreaking thing. But, you know, we get it on all sides. And I remember having a recent conversation with a fellow Nigerian friend of mine. And I remember her saying to me, girl, you fight so hard for Black Americans. Like, you know, they're not accepting you. They're not down for you. Because I'm very vocal about this whole Black Lives Movement and just social justice. And to me, the way I look at it, and you touched on it earlier, Korto, when you said, when I walk outside of my home, or I'm walking in the halls of a corporate job back when I was there, they look at me. They're not saying, oh, she's Black, but she's Nigerian. I'm just Black, you know? And so for me, we're all in it together. It doesn't matter what country we came from, if we're immigrants or if we were born in this country. America and white America and the other America see us as Black people, period. So as she said, we need to clean up our own home and support each other and lift each other up instead of just degrading who we are or pitting ourselves against each other. And again, you know, it's a hard thing to process because when you really peel back the racial disparities in this country, it all goes back to slavery. It all goes back to what we were conditioned to think, you know? So when I'm talking about the modeling industry and tokenism and colorism, well, that started in slavery, you know, when the light-skinned slaves were inside and the dark-skinned slaves were out on the field. So that was already that whole colorism and pitting that against us. So I do try to give grace to us, you know, because we are conditioned. And we know that 400 years wasn't that long ago, you know. Everyone else thinks that it was so long ago, but we know that this conditioning is so deeply rooted. And again, Korto, you touched on another point where, you know, like if nobody is telling you you're good enough, if nobody's telling you that you should believe in yourself, I take it back to systemic racism. You know, when society is always putting Black people down, putting Black men down, one day you're just going to believe it. Well, you know what? I'm nothing. Why even bother? You know, why not end up being what they told me that I am? The only difference that I can say about being a Nigerian woman is in my home, which I'm sure the same for you ladies, education was the key. You know, there was no slacking in our home. You know, if I was out in public, I remember one day I was on the phone with my mom and I was working for the federal government. And so someone walked past me while I was talking to her and I switched real hard into the slang. And she said, she about ripped my head off. And I'm talking, I'm a grown 30-something-year-old woman at this point, you know? And she was like, don't you ever talk like that again. You know, she just didn't want to hear it because that's not the woman that she raised. And so, you know, I was always raised to believe in myself, to push hard, to work hard, and to understand that education is the key to get me out of everything. So that's what I took with it. And so as I got older and became more confident in being who I am, I didn't care too much if I was accepted by my Black friends or not. I just knew I had to do me. But it's an internal thing that we as a community really have to work hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you all brought that up. I know that there's a conference that I spoke at a couple of weeks ago, and so I've been a part of this conference for years. It's called the Black Men's Healing Conference, and it's been going on for 12 years, and it's based in Minneapolis, of all places. And so this was the first year that was virtual, and so one of the things that I've again been a part for the last few years, and so social justice that's my wheelhouse. That's what's extremely important to me. And we were having conversations before the conference about, do we only talk about police brutality? And I was pushing, saying we have to, two things can be true at the same time. We have to talk about what is affecting us externally and then what's actually affecting us internally, and having accountability conversations around that, right? So even when we look at we talk about systemic racism, but then I also tell people that when we go outside of this country, colorism is just a byproduct of that systemic racism, right? So if you look at different cultures, and then when you have the spectrum where typically people who are on one side of the spectrum, where people believe in terms of color closer to whiteness, there is normally a higher regard and standard that's held in certain countries and communities. And those of us that are not on that end, that are closer in terms of Blackness, then it doesn't hold the same standard, right? And so as I'm listening to you all talk about how that shows up, we have to be able to recognize that two things can be true at the same time. Yes, we can talk about holding people externally accountable, but we cannot do that without talking about what we need to be doing internally in our own communities. And so when you start talking about family, how many people I've heard make reference to what is considered beautiful and what is not. Just as a Black woman, I can tell you that I've heard people say to my husband things like, "Oh, that's who you married? Oh, I thought that, I thought that she would look different." And that conversation has come up several times with people in his circle. And I'm like, what does different mean? What do you mean? And so it's always this ode to complexion being different or hair texture being different and what they expect of who he should have been with. And I just find that to be very interesting in our community, how we place those stereotypes and beliefs and ideologies within our own community, instead of working to actively dismantle it, but then saying to people externally, well, you cannot treat us a certain way. You have to dismantle this externally, but we're not doing that internally. So I want to say thank you to both of you all for that. I want to kind of move to, in the same space, for you all to talk about how you address it with your own voice and in your personal spaces. So how do you use your personal voice? And you all are these powerful, amazing, accomplished women. How does this affect in your family? How does it show up in your family? How do you use your voice to dismantle these forms of systemic racism and oppression?
I think right out of the gate, you have to have these conversations with your children, and it goes from when they're born. When my daughter was born, it was important for me to get books with people that look like her. So she, what we're going through is because people are raising their children and teaching them these things. No one comes out of the womb a racist, or discriminating against somebody else. They don't know. Children especially don't know. So it was important for me to have books that had Indian and Asian and different cultures and African and African American. And I want her to know that, mommy, yeah, I'm Black, but I'm African. I have this other thing as well. So all those things played into what it was, what she wore, how she wore her hair, the beauty of it. And it was important for me to put it in her head that her beauty was just beautiful. Because she had to go through things as a child, a teacher writing and saying, can you take her beads out because it's very distracting? Or, when she has her puff balls, all of that. So now she's coming home like, what's wrong with my beads? Because she's a diva, she's swinging it. I know she's swinging it, But then now you're tapping into her self-esteem. So that's me making her go to school and saying, yeah, this is me all day. And we're not taking no beads out. You know, other people come in with other things and they don't have to take it out. So she's not taking hers out. So it's very important as a parent to start that. Even with my son right now, I'm showing him that when we go out, I go to different shows. He's been coming to me since he was out of the womb. You know, he's seen different people. He sees my friends are all different races. It's important for me that he understands people are just people. I don't talk about color in that sense because I don't want to be like, well, that's black and this is white and this is like those seeds that we're planting. That's why we are where we are right now. So that's very important within my family. And then just having the real talk about, you know, the police and when we're in the car and when we go places and why he can't take his water gun and have it in the car with him or take his Nerf gun to the park. You have to have these conversations. It's unfortunate that we have to, but we do, you know, that we have to be this, not because it's wrong, because the society we live in is going to interpret it like this and have to really break it down to all of that. But then they see me when I'm working. They're seeing me even from Project Runway. I was very vocal coming in. I want a model of color. It doesn't matter what color she is. She just has to be something other than what I know every other designer is going to have. So that was important to me. When you come in the door, you have to say who you are and what you want. Because if not, people will interpret what that is and hand it to you on a platter. So it was important for me to say, look, even before the casting happened, I know I'm like the token Black girl, but I'm not going to be doing token Black girl stuff. So if that's what you're casting, I really appreciate this opportunity, but I'm not going to be doing this all day and but I will check you if I have to, but I'm a respectable, educated Black woman who is a mother and a wife. And my mom is watching this and she would have me in the ringer if I'm on here embarrassing my family name. So if that's who you want, thank you, but no thanks. But if that's not who you wanted, when do I need to be there? So we have to start talking. People can't read your mind. People are just used to the stereotypes that they're handed and think when you walk in, they already know what your name is, where you live, what your bank account looks like, you know, all of that. So when you start speaking, even when I moved to Arkansas, I got the whole, girl, you sound like a white girl. Why? Because I'm educated and I just speak properly and pronounce all my vowels and stuff. You know, like, why am I now a white girl now? Because, you know, I'm speaking. I got a great education. My parents paid good money for it. So yes, when I'm in a professional setting, when I'm not just around my family, just acting a fool, yes, I'm very professional. That means being white, then that's a problem you have. You're saying that if you speak like that, if you're educated, if you sound proper and you're professional, that's a white thing. So what's a Black thing?
Right.
So yeah, all of that being taught to my children right now. There's a time and a place for everything, but if you don't say who you are when you walk in and what you expect of others, they're going to hand you whatever it is they want to hand you.
I think, thank you, Korto. And can I just say, every time I've walked in a fashion show for Korto, it's been such a beautiful thing because we are the majority. I know that it's going to be a diverse group of women and men, and she's not going to be afraid to show who she is and show her African side. I mean, from the music to the clothes to the model she books. So she definitely speaks, she preaches, and she does what she preaches. You know what I mean? So, anyways, with that being said, I hold that responsibility very strong in my heart because I have nieces that look up to me. My sister has 3 beautiful brown skinned Black girls. And on my husband's side, my husband is Pakistani. We have our nieces and nephews there. And as I'm sure some people know, us two coming together to get married was not an easy feat. You talk about dealing with racism within your own family and trying to dispel some of those preconceived notions that that community has about Black people, and then add being African on top of that. But we certainly got through that and have come to this beautiful place. So I have a huge responsibility to be a role model for both sides. You know, for my sister's children, I am always proud to wear my hair natural, to represent my Blackness, to show them that it's okay. You know, they grow up in a very white community, white schools, white neighborhoods, and I've seen them kind of shy away from their blackness a little bit just to fit in with their white girlfriends, you know. Oh, I don't want to braid my hair, mom. I don't want to do this. I want to relax my hair and wear it straight, because it's those subtleties that happen in school, like you were talking about with your daughter, when they go in and they're looked at differently. So I try to show up and be that auntie that is unapologetic. You know, they laugh at me all the time because they're like, Aunt Joy, you just say whatever's on your mind. And you're like, yep, and you should too. And so, and then with my husband's side, it's showing them that it's okay to marry outside of your race. It's okay to bring something different into your home. And so now when I hear them out there proudly saying, oh, my aunt is Nigerian, it's a beautiful thing, because now to them, they're not seeing a color difference. I'm just Aunt Joy to them, and that's it, you know? So I certainly, we always talk to them about race when it comes up. And of course, the conversations are different on both sides of the family. You know, with my African family, it's more, you're Black in America, and this is what you're going to have to deal with, and this is what you need to do. And on the other side, it's making sure they understand the privilege and how they should speak out against, you know, any injustices that they see, and stepping up. So so that's how I handle it on the personal family side. And in the business side, I feel that by me being who I am, it shows people where I stand, and it shows my models what I'm about. So I try to always be my authentic self, as you mentioned earlier in the beginning of this Zoom call. And but when I have to speak, I do. I think one of the biggest challenges I had this time around as a Black business owner, because I think for all of us, we sometimes struggle with just how Black we're going to be, you know, because are we going to be accepted by the white community, you know, that quote unquote spends the money. And so there was times with my marketing and my branding, I always had to really pause and think, okay, do I want to put my face out there? Because I don't want people to think it's a Black company, and then they, you know, for whatever issues they have with that, they may not want to do business with me. Do I even want to promote all Black models on there, you know, because then they'll think, oh, well, she only deals with Black models. So that was a struggle I had. And I never tried to mix politics, race, and religion in my business. But, you know, after George Floyd's murder, it was the first time that I had to put out a public statement, you know, and I owed that not only to the public, but to my talent and to myself, because I am a Black woman and these things affect me every day. I cry every day for every Black person that is murdered and shot and mistreated by the police and by any other form of systemic racism. And so when I put that out there, and I also sent an internal email to all of my talent to let them know that we do not tolerate any of this. You know, our business is a place for inclusivity, for safety, for love, respecting each other. I don't care what you are, what your preferences with who you love or who you want to be. But I had to take a stand, because I am one of the few Black-owned modeling agencies in the US. And if I don't take a stand, then who will? So that was the first time it had to, and not surprisingly enough, but it warmed my heart that a lot of my models and my non-Black models were so happy, and they were messaging me like, Joy, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for doing that. And so now I am not letting the conversation die, because one thing that always happens in our communities, someone gets shot, we go protest and we rally, and then we're back to business. So in every single message, every single post, or anything we do on social media, we've added our hashtags. I told my staff, Black Lives Matter all day long. Keep that going. We did what we called the Black Model campaign on our stories. Every day we would post a Black model on our stories and talk about for example, meet Dre. He is beautiful. He is kind. He is intelligent. He is Black. Your silence is compliance. So people understand that, and to keep that conversation going, but still keep it in a fashionable way and still relating to the business. But that is the thing that I want to do, is to make sure that in everything I do, I represent my Black people. I represent myself as a Black and an African woman. And I speak up, because I realize now that I do have a platform, and I have to do something with that platform.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is. I'm really appreciative of us having this conversation. I don't want to get emotional, and I think that this conversation and talking about finding your voice is so important. One of the things that I did when I came to the agency, I launched a program called the Nonprofit Navigators Program. And this program was designed to be a non-competitive internship experience for students in the Prince George's County area. And so we had an amazing, diverse set of people that came on board. And so it's designed to be unlike anything they've ever experienced, but the basis of it is to understand racial equity, right? And what racial equity looks like. So for our college students to participate, they have to do a set of required readings to join us. And then they start doing work in real time with us. And they all have to complete a race equity activity at the end of their cohort. And what I found, believe it or not, and I know we have a few of the navigators on this call with us, I found that the people who had the hardest time with finding their voice and sharing their voice were some of my Black students, my Black interns. And I have gone and I've had conversations externally with people about this. I'm like, I just don't understand where this is coming from. And so it really came from this place of understanding that historically, it starts at home, like you said, Korto, where you have people silencing our children early on. Shut up, be quiet, don't say anything. Children should be seen, not heard. Don't speak, go over there. Like, just that whole concept. And so I do my work from this post-traumatic slave syndrome lens, like really talking about historical trauma and how it has affected our DNA and has been passed down. And so a lot of the behaviors that are maladaptive behaviors today were actually behaviors that were beneficial to our survival at a point in time when we were an enslaved people. So you had mothers that loved their children but did not have the right to protect them, that would speak in very negative ways about their children when they were encountering and interacting with different white people and slave owners, right? They would say, oh, they're no good, they're terrible, they're horrible, they're shiftless, they're lazy, because they wanted to keep their child away from being brought into the main house or being sold away because they were seen as profitable. And that was a survival mechanism, right? It was a survival technique. Whereas now that same behavior is still used, but it's maladaptive. It's very counterproductive to our well-being and our and thriving as a community. And so it really hurt my heart when I had people that came to me to say, I want to still do this work, but I can't publicly speak out about this, about racial inequity. And they looked like me. Like that was, and those were the only people who brought that to my attention, were people who looked like me saying, I want to do something, but I can't let it be seen. And so I value you all talking about finding voice and holding voice and setting boundaries. And that's the other thing I think that is very critical, is about this boundary setting. Like, we've been taught and conditioned for so long to accept whatever people give us. Like, whatever you get, you should be happy. You know, you made it to the show, you should be happy. No, that's not enough, right? You know, oh, you made it, you got cast, you should be happy whether or not we have a glam squad to work with you. No, that's not enough. So how we set those boundaries are important. And I always talk about how critical it is for us not to just talk about our strength. We know we're strong, we're here, but how do we talk about our value? Because anything that is of value to us, we don't even put it under the same conditions that we put the things that we say are strong. Like, just look at anything that people have of value in their home. Cars, jewelry, they're not going to take those same items and put them through the same type of conditions that they would of things that they believe are strong, right? You just wouldn't do it. So I'm really appreciative of you all speaking to that, right? And talking about our children and our youth. And so it's just very emotional for me, because I'm so proud to be a part of this conversation. And I had no idea this was going to go this way. I didn't know that this was going to happen today. Supporting Black businesses. So when I talk to people, and I've done trainings around effective allyship, what does allyship look like? Like, I'll get a lot of people in the past that would have me talk to predominantly white groups and say, what is an ally? Like, what does that look like? And one of the things for me is it's supporting Black businesses consistently, not just like these one-off times, but where your budget is a reflection of your priorities. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in that. So we can have conversations, but if you are an organization and you have a significant budget, where are those line items going? Where are they being spent? And so even right now, as you all are having this conversation, just talking about a Black fashion designer and all the other things that you create. And I'm going to put in a plug that I'm hoping that we will be getting some designer mask made by you, Korto, that we will be able to,
yes,
to share. But what are some of the things that you all, as business owners, as Black business owners, what are the services that you can offer to people, for people who are listening, that may not necessarily be being on the runway or booking a model? What are some of the things that you can do for nonprofit organizations or even everyday people if they wanted to solicit your services?
I think now, because of the times that we're in, I'm looking at that like for my business. You know, the fashion show's on pause, but everybody is still wanting to create and be there with you. So I'm actually looking into like teaching online classes, being able to offer one-on-one online consultations to designers who just can't find their way, but just maybe need to hear it from somebody else other than people who love them, who are telling them what they want to hear. Or they're, you know, they're haters in opposition saying you can't do it. And then also offering service where I am doing, you know, not life coaching, but doing seminars where I can speak on my experiences of what I've done, where I've been through, and how it can get better, you know, just almost motivational wise, like TED Talks. And then also just using my online platform to really expand my business in ways I never could before, because I was just so busy sewing collections and doing fashion shows and going here and going there. It's there for us. And I think we have this platform, but we don't really use it to our advantage. I think those of us who have some influence and those of us who have really good influence, you guys have a platform right now to change lives. You know, as a designer, any celebrity with status can just say, you know what we're going to do today? We're going to go to KortoMomolu.com and we're going to sell her out. Mm-hmm. Diddy could do it. Beyonce could do it. So many people. You can just do that every hour, every minute. Just name somebody. And people are such followers now. They'll just do that. You could change my life. You can change my business. Mm-hmm. You can say, well, you know what? I'm not really wanting to give money to anybody, but I have these manufacturing relationships that I can get you in the door, because otherwise when I call, they don't answer my phone. You know, we need to use our platform in ways that we can change lives. You know, for me, I'm not there yet where I can just say, hey, do this and everybody runs. But I am there where if somebody's DMing me like, hey, I've been trying to do this forever. Do you know anybody? And I can say, yeah, I know Branda's at Harlem Fashion Row. Let me give her a call. Hey, Branda's, this is so-and-so. They've been doing this for years. I'm going to put my stamp and say, he's amazing. I've seen his work. I'm not going to put my name on everything, but he's been trying to get in your show. Can I set up an email intro? Can they audition? That's all it takes, and it costs no money. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You can change somebody's life. And if Brandon says no at the end of the day, well, at least this person know somebody went to bat for them and opened the door and picked the phone up where they couldn't even get the number. We have power in who we are. And when you look at these celebrities who have the power, they look like me.
Yep.
We don't have to be putting up with this.
I feel you.
You don't have to play ball. Y'all are good. You don't have to play any kind of sports. You don't have to sing now one more song. You don't have to not print one more print ad. You don't have to shoot now one more movie or TV show. Talk about a blackout. No, forget the blackout on the screen. Let's just black out. Take ourselves out of this world and all the industries that we are in, that we're making money, where we're not the ones making the money. Black out like that, and let's show people our worth and our presence. Black out like that, and then if they still want to continue life without us, and they won't, then we can just go from there. But I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. This whole blackout for a Tuesday, what did that do? Nothing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got people out there that can change my life as a designer. One celebrity can come to my show in the season. You know what, Joy? You get this person. There's a list that goes around that people have charged like from $100K upwards or downwards, where you have to pay them to come sit in your seat at your show.
Wow.
That one photograph at my show can change my life.
Mm-hmm.
Next season, Vogue will be calling, Elle, Marie Claire, all of them be calling me because this one person decided to charge or not charge just to sit in the seat for 5 minutes. That's the power we have, but we don't use it, we abuse it. We forget the times when we were struggling and we couldn't get nobody on the phone. Everybody who's made it has a time where they struggle, but we forget that when we get up there. So I'm just saying, if anybody happens to listen to it or this is posted somewhere, like seriously, I'm for change. But let's change, like I said, we gotta change inside the house. Don't charge me $25K or $100K to come sit when you know you struggle one day to just be who you are on that record label or on that TV show. When I've sent you a gazillion outfits to make you look good, but I had to beg to get my credit or my plug about it, all of that.
Yeah.
Let's black out.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel with that, I just feel we're just talking, we're getting back, everybody's forgotten about it now. We're back on the regular, whatever. Nothing's gonna change, I've been told no so many times that it's almost like it's funny now. It's like, oh, they said no. Let me tell them real quick. You know what I mean? Like now I gotta keep proving myself that I'm worthy. And then those people who say no, they always come back. They always call, don't they, Joy? Be like, hey, so-and-so and so, no, I'm good.
No.
It's not even being petty or holding a grudge. It's just like when I needed you to help me, you didn't want to help me. Now that I've done the work and made it, now you want to easily swipe up in there. No, now you got to work to come up to me now.
Yeah.
And we have to stop doing that. We have to start selling our souls to the devil.
Yeah.
I don't care if I have $10 in the bank. Maybe 10 proudest dollars I have, but I'm not about to sell myself to you. So I think we got a lot of work to do, but that's what I would like to see change. I would like to see people who can help me, actually help me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it for the plug on social media. Don't tell nobody you even helped me. Let me tell the story years when I come up like with Denzel and Chadwick.
Yeah, like Chad, exactly.
You know what I mean? That young man, he changed that man's life, and look what that little seed did for that man. Look what it did for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That stuff makes me emotional.
Yeah, it is. It is because you realize climbing up, when I look at my journey too, I'm not saying that there weren't hands that helped me, but the hands that should have helped me didn't. The ones that I was looking up to, the ones that looked like me and that I respected and I was learning from and I was soaking it all in, they were the ones that just did not lend a helping hand. And, and as creatives, in this time of this pandemic, the world has changed, things were moving beautifully. And then it all came to a screeching halt, me being in a business, both of my business are human to human, models need to be booked, they're on set, they're together, a big crew. When I'm styling, that's a very personal environment, so one-on-one. So that literally came to a halt. But as a creative, you have to regroup. You pause for a second and then you got to figure it out. So like Korto, these are things that I've always wanted to do and what I geared out to do with the business. I've been able to really now take a break and sit down and formulate how I'm going to do it. So I was already doing some virtual styling already but by necessity, because I had clients that were located in Boston and in different states. So we couldn't always be together. But now I've had to kind of change everything to a more virtual presence, talking about setting up webinars and creating a masterclass for styling and also a masterclass for modeling. I get asked a ton of times daily, how do I get into the modeling industry? What do I need to do? So I realize that I am the expert in that field. And so that's something that I can put together that can be of service to people. And that can be an additional way for me to keep business going and keep it moving. So, hopefully people seeing this and watching this, when these courses do come out, that they will buy them. The hard part, again, Korto, you've said so many things so beautifully today, and I can relate to everything that you've said. The hard part is that our community does not support. The amounts of times that our people, they want to call me for models, but they don't want to pay. Oh, they want to pay the model. Oh, but I don't have the agency to pay you, but I'm doing all the work to connect these dots for you. And I'm not the type of person that my career has been not, I've tried to make it not about the money, because I found that when I don't focus on the money, that's when the blessings come in. So I'm always willing to help someone out and support each other. I mean, like we said, Korto and I have supported each other from day one, and will continue to support each other, because I know that if I'm in need and I call her, if I call Korto and I'm like, girl, I need a dress, I need a gown, she is shipping that gown straight up to me, no questions asked. You know, when she's in town, she needs models, I got it. And but our community doesn't support each other the way that we should, and we don't want to support financially, and that is what holds us back. So you asked the question about how can we support Black businesses and what does that look like? I'm getting a lot of, you know, okay, how do I say this? Right now, you know, there's a lot of white people that are asking, oh, what can I do? How can I support? You know, so it's really, I'm taking those slowly, because I'm trying to understand, is this guilt? Is this white guilt that's making you come my way? Or are you genuinely interested in supporting me because you believe in me, my brand, and my product? And that's two different things. You know, I don't need pity. I don't need your white guilt support. I don't want you giving me a handout, because I've never had a handout. I've worked hard for everything that I've accomplished in my entire life. But yeah, I do think it's important for us to get that overall support, not only from our Black community, but from the other side of the house, because we need it all to grow. And like you said, it's the same thing for me. One person, one celebrity name can change my life. When I'm styling, you know, and I've styled these celebrities, but the challenges with these celebrities is they don't want to promote you on social media. They don't want to post that, hey, this person styled me, this person did this. And so you're kind of stuck in that place, knowing a simple post can change everything, but it doesn't happen that way, you know, and it is disappointing, but you know, we take what we get and we keep it moving. And so I just believe in working hard, and my hard work has gotten me to where I am today. I remember starting this agency, and a fellow agent, competitor, literally said, oh, she's going to be fly by night. Her agency is going to be a fly-by-night agency, and they're a white person, and but I use that as fuel to motivate me, because I'm going to show you 3 years later. We just celebrated our 3-year anniversary this past Sunday of the modeling agency, and I'm still standing even through a pandemic. So, you know, I always tell people, never count me out.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know we're coming up on time. I want to talk a little bit about the nonprofit community. So as you know, we're nonprofit Prince George's County, and we are the Human Services Coalition for all of the nonprofits throughout the county. So you're talking about, I mean, any area that you can imagine. So arts-based nonprofits, you're talking about reentry nonprofit to focus on the reentry community, homeless service providers, substance abuse providers, domestic violence, sororities and fraternities, church-based, healthcare. I mean, it ranges the gamut. So that's the blessing of being in this space, is that I feel like we're able to touch all of these different issue areas that impact us collectively. So wanted to just kind of find out from you all, what can you share with the nonprofit community in general, and across the spectrum? What are some of the things that nonprofits can do to strategize to work on dismantling systemic racism, and how it impacts or affects you all in the fashion industry?
I think definitely, especially this season, we saw so many nonprofits who were advanced and blessed to be able to offer so many grants to small businesses within their nonprofit. Just making sure that there's diversity and there's inclusion, whether it's a women-based or whatever it is that you are doing. How can you sit down and see, okay, what have we been doing? Are we inclusive in our boards, in our employees, in the people that we welcome in when we're needing services? And I think it's important when you walk into a place and you see that everybody's there, it makes you let your guard down a whole lot. But when you know you're fighting against a whole troop of people, then, you know, the guards are up and you're not feeling like you can be your authentic self to a certain degree because you're trying to get in that door. Like George said, sometimes you have to play this game, and we're tired of playing the game. So as a nonprofit, if there's ways where you can reach out to creatives like myself, to Joy, whether it's coming in, I mean, being creative with it, you know, maybe your staff, you know, you would love to kind of talk about how the staff goes to do events or important things and they're not really fashion savvy. Joy can come in and do a session on how to go from work to play or just whatever. There's things that you can do, pay her for that service, for her to come in and maybe enhance your employees' wardrobes. Maybe it's me coming in and just doing like an icebreaker because we've just been dealing with so many tragic things and trauma. I could totally come in and just do something fun, fashion related as a, you know, exercise with your employees. There's so many ways. I could make masks with your logos on it. There's so many creative ways, but maybe have a round table where we can talk about how we can come in or how you can let us in and how maybe you can help. But instead of just saying, well, this is how we're going to help, see if that help is even wanted. I think that's important. But looking deeper into how you can help, whether it's financially or just giving out some list of, hey, these are our resources. If we can help you get to any of these, we'll be more than willing to do the introduction. So just try. I think right now, I think everybody just wants to see people trying. The businesses that we love and care about, nonprofits or not, we just want to see that you're trying. And the ones who haven't tried or said anything, we're feeling like that's your way of saying how you feel about us as well. This is not going to get any better, but I think individually, like I said before, we all have to put in the time and the work. This is not going to go away, but if we don't start now, our children will not have futures.
Mm-hmm. And I think with nonprofits too is, you know, if there's space on your website to just based on what city you're in or what areas you service, you know, find a way to list, you know, these minority businesses that can be supported. I know a lot of times with nonprofits, it seems like there's no room for fashion and arts and entertainment, but it's in everything that we do. Fashion, arts, and entertainment is literally the centerpiece of our entire lives, right? So there's always a way to do that. And then also making sure, like if you are paying these people, like if you do Bring Me or Korto or for that, and using us as an example, make sure the pay is equal. Because I've also seen times when nonprofit organizations and even private sector organizations will bring a Black person in to do a speech or a presentation, but they pay them a lot less than what they would the white person. So make sure that people are on that board and those decision makers that are making sure that that pay is equal, because we have to look out for each other in that same way. I remember watching an episode of The View. I think Whoopi Goldberg was saying how when she was negotiating her rate, I think Barbara Walters told her what she made, you know, because sometimes if we don't share that information, you know, as a entrepreneur or business person, I don't know, you may not know what the going rate is for that type of work or that type of job, you know? So are we looking out for each other to make sure like, hey girl, when you do this, you should be getting something in this amount. And so that way, when we get presented what they're gonna give us, we're like, well, that's not right. And then we can in turn fight for ourselves, you know? But sometimes we take it because we don't want to miss out on the opportunity. And then we're doing ourselves a disservice and every other Black person that comes behind us a disservice, because then they're going to get, the next person is going to get paid that less amount and so on and so forth. So we have to really fight in every room. And, you know, it's just like RBG said, women should be in the room where decisions are being made. And that's it. So women and minorities should always be in that space. And that's what I always try to be. I've always been that token Black person in every space that I have walked into. And so I know I have that responsibility to present myself in a certain way. I definitely think it has helped that I am a model. So I automatically walk into a room with confidence, even if I'm shaking inside, you know, because I am the only one, but you're not going to see me sweat in front of you, you know, but that has totally have to change. And so it's me bringing people on. Who am I bringing on with my staff? How am I grooming these people to be the next me that's going to take it and go further than I am? You know, I'm going to keep knocking down doors, but I'm knocking it down for every other young Black girl that comes behind me. I'm knocking it down for my nieces and everybody. But it's important that these nonprofits help and give us that space. You know, I'm certainly willing to come. There's a lot of nonprofits that cater to kids, right? And so are these kids getting groomed? There's so many tools that the modeling industry gave me as a woman, and how to conduct myself as a woman, how to present myself, how to dress. That's information that I will gladly impart to the next generation coming up. So use the valuable tools that you have to help not only within your organization, but then that also helps me with my visibility and my ability to pay it forward.
Korto and Joy, I cannot say how immensely amazing this conversation has been. And I am sad that we are up on our hour. But what I will share with you is that everything that you all have said, I want to continue this conversation offline to talk about other ways that we're going to be able to incorporate you all into the work that we're doing in Prince George's County and the Washington metropolitan region. And we also make sure that we will share your information on our social media and in our next alert that goes out to our membership in the community. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I'm so happy to see you again, Joy. Korto, thank you for making that happen. Thank you all for both being such strong, amazing voices. And I'm just honored and privileged to be able to have been in this space and to have shared this dialogue with you all. So I hope that you all enjoyed the conversation, but we will continue this conversation.
And thank you for everybody that joined on. I know it's lunchtime and everybody's busy. I see a lot of my customers and friends.
I know, right? Thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate it. Tiffany, thanks for having us. I'm so honored to be a part of this and helping to make some change, and hopefully it resonates to some people.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.